Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to do some more complex examples of division using the bus stop. So previously, you had everything would divide in exactly. So this time, say we had to do 375, and we're going to divide that by 8. Now, what I would do is I would start in exactly the same way. I'd write 8 outside my bus stop. I'd write 375 on the inside. And then I'd say 8 into 3 would go in 0 times. I'd bring my remainder 3 here. So then I'd say 8 into 37. That would go 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32. I would have 5 remainder. Then I would say 8 into 55. That would go in 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. So I would have a remainder 7. Now, I could just write remainder 7 like that, which is sort of an acceptable answer. So it goes in 46 remainder 7. But the question is what to do with this remainder. We don't have any more numbers here to continue, and it didn't go in exactly. We're kind of stuck with the remainder. So we've got a couple of choices. What we can do, since we have 7 left over and we were dividing by 8, we can say the answer is 46 and then 7/8. Since our remainder was 7, we had 7 left over, we're dividing by 8, so we've got 7/8 left. So it's 46 and then 7/8. If the remainder had been 3, it would be 46 and then 3/8. So that's acceptable. You can leave it as 46 and 7/8. The other thing you can do is you can do the question exactly as we'd have done here. So I'm just going to copy what I had from previously. And then when we get to here, what I can do is I can add a decimal point and add a 0. Now 375.0 is exactly the same as 375. In fact, I can add more zeros because maybe I'll need some more, like that. Now this hasn't changed the value of the number whatsoever, but now I've got some additional numbers here, so I can then carry on putting my remainder like we did before, and then continue in exactly the same way. So now I'd have to do how many 8s are in 70. So that should be 8. 8 times 8 is 64, so then I'd have a remainder of 6. Then 8 into 60 would go 7. 7 times 8 is 56, and that would leave me with 4 remainder. And then 8 into 40 would go 5. The thing I forgot here, when I get to the decimal point in my question, I should also put the decimal point in my answer. So I should have a decimal point here like that. So that is the way that I can get the answer as a decimal. So I can say that 375 divided by 8 is equal to 46.875. So either of those answers are acceptable. 46 and 7/8 is okay, or 46.875 is also okay. Now, so what that's basically telling me is that this 7/8 here is equal to this 0.875 here. So I should probably put it around the point there like that. So this is actually a good way of converting fractions into decimals. So let me show you how that would work. So say you had to convert, I'll do it with 8s again because that works out quite nicely. So you had to convert 5/8 to a decimal. Okay, now what this basically means, 5/8 means 5 divided by 8. So I would write my bus stop with the 8 on the outside and the 5 on the inside. Now I know that that's not going to go in exactly, so I'm going to straight away put a decimal point and then put some additional zeros here. Okay, so I would start in exactly the same way as usual. I'd say how many 8s go into 5, which would be 0. I put my decimal point because I've got my decimal point in the question, so I put the decimal point in the answer in the same place, and I'd have remainder 5. So then I'd say how many 8s are in 50, which would be 6. 6 times 8 is 48, so I'd have a remainder of 2. 8s into 20 would go 2. 2 times 8 is 16, so I'd have a remainder of 4. and then 8 into 40 would go 5. So that would mean that 5/8 was 0.625. Five-eighths is equal to 0.625. So the bus stop is quite good for changing fractions into decimals. So you can do it with any fraction at all. You could do it with 1/2 if you want, and the answer would come out to be 0.5, which you probably already knew, but that would also work out fine. All right, and then if you get an answer that doesn't go in exactly, instead of just leaving it with the remainder, you can either write it as a fraction, or you can do it as a decimal like I just showed you. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how to do All right, what I want to do is show you how you can use the bus stop to divide by larger numbers. So up until now, we've just done numbers like 6, 7, or 8, and I said we can do any numbers between 2 and 9 with this method comfortably. But so say we wanted to do 1,272 divided by 24. All right, now it would be possible to do a standard bus stop if we're trying to use the 24 times table. It would work, but it's going to be kind of messy and the remainders are a bit hard to work out. And not many people know their 24 times table. So instead, what we can do is we could say that, okay, 24 is equal to 6 times 4. Because I know that 24 is 6 times 4. So I can say that 1,272 divided by 24 is going to be the same as 1,272 divided by 6, and then take the answer of that and divide that by 4, because 24 is 6 times 4. So first divide by 6, then take the answer and divide by 4 would be exactly the same as if I divided by 24. So if I do 1,272 and I first of all divide by 6, so 6's into 1 would go 0. I'd have 1 remainder. 6's into 12 would go 2. There's no remainder this time, so I don't need to put anything in front of the 7. 6's into 7 would go 1 time. There's 1 remainder, and then 6's into 12 would go 2. So that would give me 212. Then what I need to do is take my 212 and divide it by 4. 4's into 2 would go 0, with a remainder of 2. 4's into 21 would go 5. 5 times 4 is 20. So I'd have a remainder of 1, and then 4's into 12 would go 3. So what that means is that 1,272 divided by 24 is equal to 53. So I can take my division, which I need to do, and I can do it in 2 steps. Now you might say 24 is equal to 8 times 3, as well as 6 times 4. So why did you use 6 times 4? And the answer is I don't have to use 6 times 4. I should also be able to use it with 8 times 3 and get the same answer. So I'm going to try that, and just to show that that will also work. I could also do it, divide by 3 first and then divide by 8. It shouldn't make any difference. So if I do 1,272 and I first of all divide it by 8, 8's into 1 would go 0, remainder 1. 8's into 12 would go 1 time, remainder 4. 8's into 47 would go 5 times, remainder 7. And then 8's into 72 would go 9 times. Then I would need to take my 159 that I've just worked out and divide that by 3. 3's would go into 1 0 times, remainder 1. 3's into 15 would go 5, no remainder, so then I just do 3's into 9, which would give me 3. So that's given me 53, the exact same answer that I had here. So I had 53 here, I had 53 here. So we can agree that 1,272 divided by 24 is equal to 53. Now this is a good technique if you've got to divide by a large number, which you can easily break up into 2 smaller numbers, which are less than 9, or 9 or up to 9. So it works very well for things like 24 or 12 or 16 or something like that. For other different numbers, I will have to show you a different technique, which we can look at next time.